you're welcome to House Connects, the program which tells you all what you need to know about Parliament and its actors. There is no doubting that lawmakers have taken a short break from their legislative work at the level of the 9 general committees and in plenaries, but their contribution to nation building remain relevant. Our focus on the program today will be the SAMOA agreements between the European Union and the Organization of African, Caribbean and Pacific States, signed in 2023, adopted in Parliament and ratified by the President of the Republic. On the program, we also will be telling you what the lawmakers have been up to in their constituencies. Stay with us for the next half an hour on House Connects. We'll be back in a moment. A documentary film to celebrate the achievements of the President of the Republic, titled Paul Biya, a Great Statesman with an Extraordinary Destiny, continues to make waves across the country. The projection in the Far North region was made in the presence of the House Speaker, the Right Honorable KAWEB, who for the past 4 decades has been influential in the population supports for the regime. The echoes of the memorable events are on House Connect today.
The ceremonial grounds of the Far North regional capital, Marwa, as the people clad in their traditional outfits line up with enthusiasm to witness the Marwa regional projection of a film on President Paul Biya. One of the key moments of the over 3 hours event is the arrival of the House Speaker, the Right Honorable KAWEB, the country's third personality by constitutional order, who also doubles as the Far North Regional Permanent Delegation Leader of the governing Cameroon's People Democratic Movement. The House Speaker, the Right Honorable KAWEB, is here in Marwa on the invitation of the Governor of the Far North Region, Midiawa Bakari, to watch the projection of the 1 hour 24 minutes film on the man who created the Far North region, President Paul Biya.
Densité de la qualité de l'œuvre accomplie par l'homme.
The intensity of the quality of the works accomplished by the man Paul Biya at the helm of Cameroon inspires us to follow his know-how. That is what will make us keep him in our memory. According to the House Speaker, President Paul Biya needs to be celebrated and voted for all the time by the people of the Far North region because he has extensively worked for their emancipation.
Je voudrais dire combien j'apprécie la présence massive des filles et fils.
I wish to say how happy I am of the presence of the sons and daughters of the Far North region in this event, which is certainly cultural, but which shows the patriotism in each and every one of us. This massive presence shows the constant attachment of the people of the Far North region to President Paul Biya.
La personne de son Excellence, Monsieur Paul Biya.
Over 10,000 people gathered to watch the film as they recounted their blessings under the Biya era, amongst them the creation of proximity educational facilities like the Marwa University, appointment of their sons and daughters in key government positions, construction of roads like the ongoing works on the Marwa Kuseri Dabanga stretch, and the complete destruction of terrorism through the elimination of Boko Haram in the region. Codenamed Paul Biya, the statesman with an extraordinary destiny, it is a piece of art done by 2 Cameroonian female producers under the supervision of the Civil Cabinet of the Presidency of the Republic with the artistic assistance of the Ministry of Arts and Culture. The House Speaker, the Right Honorable KAWEB Jibri, watched the film from start to finish as the people of the region communed with other communities based in the far north region.
Parliamentary diplomacy continues to shine in the two lawmaking institutions. In the last couple of days, a Japanese delegation led by the president of the Japan-Africa Union Parliamentary Group, Aisawa Ichiro, was granted audience by the senior vice president of the Senate, Abubakari Abdullahi, and the senior deputy speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable Ilarion Etong. The South Korean ambassador to Cameroon, His Excellency Nam Ki-wook, was equally in Parliament to strengthen concerted legislative action.
The next Tokyo International Conference on African Development is around the corner, and the Japanese foreign team is at work to canvass for support for the top African leadership to attend the event focused on the development of the continent. This explains the presence in Cameroon of a Japanese parliamentary diplomacy team. The team received here at the Yaoundé Conference Center by the Senate Senior Vice President Abubakari Abdullahi is headed by Aisawa Ichiro, the head of the Japanese African Union Parliamentary Group, who is also former Japanese Minister for Africa. They discuss with the Senate Senior Vice President the state of bilateral cooperation between Cameroon and Japan. The same group of Japanese parliamentarians had been at the National Assembly before coming to the Senate. At the National Assembly, they are received in audience by the Senior Deputy House Speaker, Honorable Ilarion Etong. Among those who took part in the audience are members of the Cameroon-Japan Parliamentary Friendship Group. The Senior Deputy House Speaker had also granted audience to the South Korea ambassador to Cameroon. Top amongst the issues discussed were relations between Cameroon and the Korea International Agency for Development, with huge human resource capital building impact in Cameroon.
We should do more to further develop our relationship, not only for the bilateral two governments, but also the two national assemblies. Our two countries should develop their friendly relationship. For instance, the exchange. Another field is also the official development aid, ODA. So Korea has assisted for the Cameroon's sustainable economic development for a long time. We have achieved a lot.
The South Korea ambassador to Cameroon, Nam Ki-wook, left the Senior Deputy House Speaker's cabinet with a sense of a relation poised for better horizons.
Ever heard about the SAMOA agreement? It is that accord signed between the European Union and the Organization of African, Caribbean and Pacific States to promote sustainable and inclusive development as well as economic prosperity. It is amongst the bills that was scrutinized and adopted in the course of the June session in Parliament. According to the lawmakers, it is an agreement that governments should be careful about its implementation. The partnership agreements between the European Union and its member states on the one hand and the Organization of the African, Caribbean and Pacific States signed in Samoa on November 15, 2023 has been ratified by the President of the Republic.
This agreement is replacing the Cotonou Agreement, which was signed in 2000 and expired in 2020. So the relations between the European Union and the African, Caribbean and Pacific countries was to witness a new framework, legally, economically, financially. And two major innovations are part of this new agreement. The first one is we have an agreement that has a protocol covering common issues and three different protocols covering Africa, covering Pacific, and covering the Caribbean.
It is basically intended to build the capacity of parties to work together to address global challenges and the development supports that the European Union provides.
Cameroon is exporting its goods in the majority to the European Union. The reason why we have also an economic partnership agreement. Certainly, new challenges in terms of peace, security, inclusive development, migration, governance, democracy, all these issues can only be addressed if we are part of a group, a very strong group, a group representing almost the entire world, and the SAMOA agreement brings together 106 nations.
Expected to take into account the specificities of each region, its priorities include human rights, democracy and governance, peace and security, as well as inclusive and sustainable economic growth. For Cameroon's lawmakers, a number of shortcomings persists.
This bill that authorizes the President of the Republic to ratify this partnership agreement between European Union and the member state on the one hand, and members of the Organization of African, Caribbean, and Pacific States on the other hand, has many priorities. I want to underline the aspect of environmental sustainability and climate change because I come from Bakassi, and on the 10th of March, you all saw what happened to one of our villages in Bekumu. Mention has not been made of the products that we are going to import from the European Union. What mechanism is found in this agreement to avoid dumping from the European Union countries and maintain fairness in import and export?
The pertinence of the preoccupation is considered by the states, which is weighing the impacts of tax exoneration on European products on the Cameroonian markets and adopting anti-dumping measures.
We are not just exporting banana. We are exporting aluminium, we export oil, we export certainly timber. So all these products are getting to the European market without custom duties. How do we implement mechanism to avoid dumping? The first thing we should know is that the Economic Partnership Agreement, which is about stopping leverage of custom duties, is targeting 75% of the products we import from the European Union, which is approximately 80% of our import from European Union. Why am I talking about 75%? Because in the list of exclusion, we have sensitive products of our ground, of our economy, that are not part of this economic partnership agreement. Agricultural products are not concerned.
Although the ratification of the SAMOA agreements paves the way for Cameroon to secure financing obtained under the Cotonou agreements and to compete with other states to mobilize new funds for African, Caribbean and Pacific countries, major limitations abound.
While the European Development Fund under the Cotonou Economic Partnership was very flexible and responsive, in contrast, the Neighborhood Development and International Cooperation Instrument under the SAMOA Agreement is largely introducing a rigorous process with no certainty of funding, more especially that countries have to compete with others for funding. I was hoping to see an article that talks about the African Continental Free Trade Area addressing the peculiarity of the African situation, understanding that intra-African trade is very low, but nothing in the new economic partnership has been talked about the African Continental Free Trade Area.
The parties' ability to negotiate for the easy movement of goods in the agreements, queried and viewed unequal, were clarified.
In the past, we had some dedicated EDF funds. These dedicated EDF funds sometimes were not used adequately. If you have a very positive performant country absorbing the money allocated, and this country has the possibility to do more, will you leave the money where it's not used or channel it to where it can be used? This is where the competition comes. It's about performance. We have 13 years to implement it in 3 batches. The first batch is about all the ingredients that are getting into our economy in terms of production and some sensitive products in the health sector, medicines, and this has helped Cameroon to benefit from reducing of the cost of clinker, and it has helped companies that are in the horticultural sector, flowers, that are in the timber sector, to improve and increase their capacity. When you talk of a jumbo pepe, well, we are exporting to the market without paying some duties. We are exporting our bananas. The second batch is about goods that are contributing to improving our production capacity. And the third one, which is the most sensitive in terms of revenue collection at the border, this has been done in the third batch: cars, watches, and different luxuous products. So this will go over till 2029.
Intended to offer the private sector the opportunity to engage in mutually beneficial investment partnerships, the specific characteristics of least developed countries and landlocked or low-lying coastal states must be given thought to.
Plantations palm oil to Cameroon Limited is the life wire of Indian Division. And with the present crisis, it has not been easy at all with the people of Indian Division because palm oil have been passing through very difficult moments. But by the grace of God, with the help of the government, palm oil is gradually, picking up. And we are grateful to the government for all what they have been doing. But Mr. Minister, I want to draw your attention to the present situation that palm oil is passing through. For now, it is so difficult for palm oil to evacuate its crops because of the frequent breakdowns in the machines, or rather the few trucks that they have. They are even renting trucks. They don't have trucks at all. Secondly, the mill at Lobe and Bulu, that is Indian, they have not been very, very functional. First of all, they don't have spare parts. We discussed with the general manager of palm oil PLC. A project file was prepared. This project file was approved by Minfi and Minader. But unfortunately, Mr. Minister, this project file is hanging somewhere in your ministry for quite a long time. So we don't know how do we give that project file the oxygen it needs so that you'll be able to do something. It is very important, Mr. Minister.
As the only African country in the Central African sub-region to have signed the partnership agreements with the European Union with the aim of exporting its agricultural products like plantains and banana, the accord will further the competitiveness and efficiency of Cameroonian companies.
The situation about palm oil is well known, and we have given part of the support. It's not certainly enough. We have seen the projects to build a new mill, acquire equipment. All these elements have been passed through the maturation process. And at the end of the day, it's about the financing. It's not just about expressing the needs. If you express the need and you bring in a partner who is offering financial conditions that are not appropriate, we will not go for that. unless we have somebody as partner who is capable of doing that, and then we'll certainly do the operation with him. We agree with you. It's important to revamp it and rehabilitate the equipment. We are working all hands on that, and it's going to help us get new equipment, truck, and build a new mill for the beneficiary of this part of our country. I understand, I know in the Indian division, this is a big concern, and we are very comfortable in telling you that we were going to continue to offer our support in building back stronger and better this equipment, and this is also the reason why the President of the Republic has established a special reconstruction and development plans for this region that are going to help us cover the expectation of the populations.
With 200 billion CFA francs injected into the Cameroonian economy, thanks to the SAMOA agreement, its financial instrument in the form of grants will contribute to the financing of the 2030 National Development Strategy and will ease the attainment of the targets of the Sustainable Development Goals. Lawmakers have been quite busy in their constituencies, struggling to foster development. On the program today, we shall be focusing on two lawmakers who have left their constituencies to impact lives away from their areas. The first is Honorable Njingu Musa. He is questor at the National Assembly and is moved from the Northwest region to provide assistance to students in the University of Chang in the West region. The other is Honorable Donald Malumba of the Southwest region, who's been to Kribi to provide assistance to the internally displaced.
Placing his mandate over the last 2 decades on human development, the CPDM member of the National Assembly for Ngo-Ketunjia, Honorable Njingu Musa, has extended a hand of fellowship to students of the University of Chang. The Center for English and Media Studies, named after him in the institution, comprises 2 separate 200-seater cinema amphitheaters, video conference halls, and decor rooms. The qualified staff will dispense lectures in performing arts, film making, media studies, English language, and literature.
The performance in this university has pushed me to be very happy that they made me a request for a center which is going to help a lot for the Cameroonians, because when this center is put in place, Cameroonians will come out of this center not looking for jobs.
The initiative, applauded by the rector of the University of Chang, Professor Chafak Nafuso, will improve the competitiveness of studies in the institution of higher learning. Meantime, members of the English-speaking community resident in Ocean Division of the South region, who were affected by the socio-political crisis in the Northwest and Southwest regions, received aid from Honorable Donald Malumba. Fleeing the conflict, they are faced with issues relating to the lack of birth certificates, national identity cards, and financial autonomy.
It's a very serious concern, especially at this time when we are trying to get our people, those who are with us, and to convince those who are not with us to join us, so we all vote for President Paul Biya. And so we, like you said, we've given them some support. They have to live in peace and in harmony in the communities where they are, especially with their host communities, the Batangas.
Reassuring the community led by Chief Johnson Joke of the state's commitment to reconstruct and develop the crisis-ridden regions, the people's representative also enjoined them to uphold the values of peace and unity.
It is on that note that we call it quits on today's edition of House Connect, which focused on the SAMOA agreements between the European Union and the Organization of African, Caribbean and Pacific States, ratified by the President of the Republic, His Excellency Paul Biya. You got to know the contours of the accord, its pertinence and its link with the 2030 National Development Strategy. We'll be back in a fortnight with other pertinent issues on nation building. And until then, it is goodbye from the entire production team of House Connects.